there's this triumphalism in Washington among supporters of the Biden foreign policy team, because they feel like they broke the axis of resistance with this blow to the bridge, the land bridge between Iran and Lebanon, and the kind of confusion it's caused about the future in Iran. And you can watch Fareed Zakaria's mono before his final interview with Jake Sullivan, where he doesn't mention Gaza at all and just simply refers to Israel as kind of an effective proxy that hammered Hezbollah. I mean, it's also on the cover of Foreign Affairs, the journal of the Council on Foreign Relations. What is it? The strange triumph of a broken America. Like, everything's polarized in the U.S. People aren't benefiting from the economy. Groceries are expensive, but the U.S. is restoring its unipolar greatness. And it mentions the collapse of the Syrian state and what Israel has done to Hezbollah without mentioning the genocide in Gaza. That's the thinking of the establishment. But it was also the radical left that I knew, or the fake radical left, the professional activist, managerial class left that all worked at NGOs. They supported the same exact agenda as the people at the Council on Foreign Relations and in the National Security Council and in NATO. And here is the result. And there is some buyer's remorse, Patrick. You're right.
What do you think is going to happen now with the Trump administration coming in? Jared Kushner wants to revive the Abraham Accords again. I don't know if Saudi Arabia and them are having it, but I see very dark days for Palestine now. But so I'm very concerned, actually, of the direction this is going to go. A lot of talk of war with Iran. Mike Pompeo is doing the rounds, if you noticed, on all the shows. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Mike, they've appointed Pompeo's ex right hand, Morgan Ortagus.
Yeah.
Who's a war hawk and an arch Zionist as well. So that kind of, you've got a lot of Iran hawks circling like vultures around the White House at the moment.
Oh, and not just in the White House, also in Ottawa. I don't know if you saw Pierre Poilievre asked about Iran. If I can find the clip, here it is. This is pretty remarkable. The new incoming Tory or conservative leader of Canada was asked about striking Iranian nuclear facilities. And Aaron, Biden was presented by Jake Sullivan with options for striking Iranian nuclear facilities in recent weeks. This is something Trump said he may do. Here's the incoming Canadian Prime Minister.
Yesterday you said that you endorse Israel proactively defending itself by hitting Iran's nuclear sites, which is something that President Joe Biden does not endorse. Do you not feel like this could lead to a likelihood of an all-out conventional war between Iran and Israel? And do you not agree with Joe Biden and his assessment?
I think the idea of allowing a genocidal, theocratic, unstable dictatorship that is desperate to avoid being overthrown by its own people to develop nuclear weapons is about the most dangerous and irresponsible thing that the world could ever allow. And if Israel were to stop that genocidal, theocratic, unstable government from acquiring nuclear weapons, it would be a gift by the Jewish state to humanity.
I thought he was talking about Israel there for a moment, but I got a little confused.
Yeah, who's genocidal here again?
With nuclear weapons.
Well, Aaron, you come from that already annexed country, but it's been annexed apparently by Tel Aviv and not Washington.
Yeah, it does look like he will be the next Prime Minister of Canada after Justin Trudeau, the guy who went out of his way, of course, to support Israel, to back all of its propaganda used to justify the genocide, and also gave a standing ovation to a Nazi war criminal. We can't forget that.
Yeah, that was.
This is the alternative, Pierre Poilievre. Again, everyone forgets in talking about Iran, by the way, that they don't have a nuclear weapons program. I mean, they're approaching the capability, but they're allowed the right to enrichment under the NPT. And again, there wasn't an Iran nuclear deal. It was working. It was actually, it was working fine. It was Trump that chose to break it and Biden that chose to not return to it. And now their next big great idea is to bomb Iran. And I'm not surprised that Biden is mulling this over. I mean, why not? It's perfectly consistent with him. And the question for us is like, again, it's like, are we going to survive Biden's last few weeks in office? This, like, you know, to whatever extent he's still making decisions himself, or it's Jake Sullivan or Blinken, but it's perfectly in character for them to be considering this. Now, of course, you know, this has been going on for a long time where they say they're considering this kind of stuff. Will they actually follow through on it? The problem is with Biden, like, you never know. He's so out of it and such a committed warmonger that you really can't rule it out. And at this point, our best hope is Donald Trump's restraint. Like, we're counting on the restraint of Donald Trump. But that's where we're at.
And Aaron was obviously being sarcastic. If someone wants to, like, one of those like post left watch accounts wants to clip that out, there's not going to be restraint on Donald Trump's part, except that he may not want to get involved in an open-ended conflict at the beginning of his administration.
Yeah.
Which is why he's deploying the madman theory on Gaza and warning that all hell will break loose in Gaza if Hamas doesn't come to the table and do a deal. When Hamas hasn't been the rejectionist, obstructionist force, it's been Netanyahu all along. And with regime change in Syria, Netanyahu has more reason to want the hostages and captives, POWs, to remain in Gaza, because it keeps war on Iran and first with Yemen on the table. As soon as there's a ceasefire in Gaza, the Red Sea opens up. Yemen is no longer at war. There's no reason to return to conflict in Lebanon, and there's therefore no reason to go after Iran's nuclear facilities. So it's Netanyahu who wants the hostages there. Hamas has already put forward a list of 35 they're prepared to release, and they're like, whoa. Amazing.
Can I ask you both a question?
Yeah.
What does all hell breaking loose in Gaza look like at the moment? Like, what's that meant to look like?
Yeah, it's heaven there right now.
What are they going to do? Bomb the rubble?
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, they're bombing any structure left. Motassem Dalul, Gaza City-based journalist, just tweeted that he was living in a building in Gaza City's Al Rimal neighborhood, which was one of the first neighborhoods wiped off the map by Israel back in October 2023. And he said 1,000 people are now in the streets because they started hitting the building with rockets, and now they're going to take the whole thing down. And the building is already like only semi-inhabitable. So they continue to do this